To spend just a few minutes today talking about conflict resolution skills. And most people, if you ask them, are going to say that they absolutely do not like conflict whatsoever. That being said, I think when people are pressed with that a little bit, what we find is that it's uncomfortable conflict that they don't like. What I mean by that is when it turns into an argument or there's a lot of pushback. Because when we look at our daily life, we actually have a fair amount of conflict, and it can be as simple as at a stop sign figuring out who's going to go. That's a type of conflict. If you go to order food and they don't have what you want, that can become a type of conflict. To figuring out what someone wants for dinner, like there's a whole bunch of different ways we can have conflict. That doesn't have to be uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be an arguing match. And most people are okay with that type of conflict. So it's not so much that we don't like conflict, it's that we don't like the arguments of butting heads. And frankly, who does like that? Probably no one. So, and that's the first thing to remember, that for effective conflict resolution, it's not to avoid a disagreement, but it's to have the disagreement well so it does not turn into something uncomfortable. And I think the first thing that can help with that is understand what do you want as a successful outcome from the conversation. And instead of making it about blaming them or not taking blame or what have you, take responsibility for your side, but also look for ways that you can move the conversation forward towards your goals, towards what you need from that conversation. But also be completely prepared to walk away. The other person might not be able to give you what you need. So instead of yelling at them, shouting, accusing them, that's just going to get them defensive, and then they're going to want to do the same thing. Instead, it's okay to just end the conversation. It's okay to have the same conversation multiple times and maybe make just a little bit of progress each time. Hey, that's still progress. And you're working towards that goal. And sometimes being very upfront about what the end goal is can be incredibly powerful. If you sit down with someone and say, hey, look, this is bugging me. This is kind of what I need to see. Can you work with me so we can get this outcome? I think a lot of people, especially if they have that same goal, are going to be willing to work with you. So then it simply becomes a matter of working out some of the details and finding out maybe what can you give, what do you need from them, and what can they give you, and maybe what do they need from you, so that you can both have an amicable solution. And when you take that approach, when things don't work well, if it doesn't work out, then you're not leaving angry, you're not frustrated. It's simply recognizing that both people cannot give what the other needed. And that's okay, that's going to happen at some point. But knowing that that could be a solution or an option can help prevent the conversation from becoming an uncomfortable conflict. So to briefly recap, recognize that not all conflict is uncomfortable. Try to make the conflict not uncomfortable. And work towards a mutual goal or solution. And try and work with the other person so that you both have an outcome that's going to work for you both. And in that way, conflict can be resolved very, very amicably without it having to become an uncomfortable discussion.